Welcome to Borderline Furniture. I'm Mara, and today I'm participating in the Be My Valentine Challenge hosted by the Flippin Bunch, where creativity, thrifted finds, and a whole lot of love come together. For this Valentine themed home decor flip, I started with a very old violin that's easily 100 years old. I've owned it for about 40 years. Unfortunately, it's no longer playable and has a crack on the front. Just to reassure everyone, this isn't a valuable or repairable instrument. I did take it to a reputable luthier, and his recommendation was to turn it into a craft project. So it made it the perfect candidate for our Valentine makeover. Before getting started, I removed the chin rest, tailpiece, and strings so that I could clean the surface properly. I would never recommend using simple green on a functional stringed instrument, but since this violin is being transformed into decor, I needed a clean slate. Once everything dried, I lightly scuff sanded the surface and spray painted a rich dark chocolate base coat because what's since Valentine's Day more than chocolate? Next, I began experimenting with clay molds to create the perfect mix of romantic and mixed media embellishments. Think vintage, love, texture, and a little drama. One of my favorite tricks for releasing clay molds is placing them in the freezer for about 30 to 45 minutes, but not overnight. This helps prevent distortion and makes removal much easier. As it defrosts, it gently conforms to the curved shape of the violin or whatever working surface I'm using, and that gives me a little bit more working time. Sometimes moisture from condensation forms as the mold warms up, and of course, clay shrinkage is always expected, even if it was glued on while it was moist. For this project, I allowed all the molds to dry completely. I added a small clock and a couple of gears as a subtle nod to my love of modern industrial and steampunk styles. At this point, I felt like the piece needed a little more romance. I recently received several new stencils in the mail and found one that was absolutely perfect for this violin. I ended up removing a few of the clay molds from the fingerboard and replaced them with a raised stencil instead, and that change really made the whole design pop. Once the stencils were dry, I lightly sanded the surface and sealed everything with bare polyacrylic in matte finish. After that, I came back over the whole piece with another layer of chocolate brown, deepening the color and giving it that rich, indulgent Valentine feel. And of course, no Valentine decor would be complete without a little red, my nod to love and lipstick. I added red in random areas along the front and sides of the violin, followed by touches of green to give the piece an aged, vintage, romantic vibe. The next step was applying the rub-on rose stencils. I originally planned on using a transfer technique with Mod Podge or Copycat, but because of the dark background, I opted for these rub-on stencils instead. They weren't affected by the darker color and retained their detail beautifully. They are quite shiny, but I don't think that takes away from the overall aesthetic. I purchased them on Amazon and I will have them linked in the description. To complete the look, I added gilding wax to the raised stencils and clay molds for an extra touch of Valentine glamour. I mean, who doesn't love a little gold on Valentine's Day? After stepping back and taking a second look, I decided to add one more clay mold and reinstall the violin tailpiece strings and chin rest. The piece was feeling a little too bare, and bringing those elements back really did tie everything together. So here is the old violin, and now for the new love story. interested in more DIY tips, be sure to visit the Flippin Bunch on YouTube on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Please take a moment to check out the other amazing content creators in this challenge by clicking on the playlist. And as always, thank you so much for watching.